Welcome to yet another episode of iAfrica, short in the Sunshine City, and we are celebrating more creatives as we always do on each and every episode of the show. I am your host, Nicole Jamu, and today's show is actually quite exciting and quite riveting. We have three creatives who are pushing boundaries in their capacities. We have the female photographer, Asha Nyambi, and Nkosi Nati. I hope you will stay with us on this episode as we tell you more about what they're doing in the creative industry.
Africa searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food.
As we get straight into the business of the show, we introduce you to the female photographer who, according to her name, is doing two things. She is being a strong female and a creative. Let's hear her story.
My name is Nyasha Gurure. I am a multi-award winning photographer. I mainly focus on African art, showing the African photography. So I'm more into showing that African Zimbabwean side of photography. That's my type of art. It just started. A lot of people, they just they would point out to my work with my gender. Like when they talk about my work, they would say, but do you know that she's female? So I ended up saying, oh, okay, the female photographer. It started as a disadvantage because a few people are still embracing our culture. A lot of people now, they are focusing on more of actually taking other styles from other countries and trying to embrace that. So now I was trying to really find a certain niche or the type of people that are able to understand my type of art and the beauty of Africa. Because you know, when someone types Africa or Zimbabwe, you can see pictures of poverty, village, not represented really well in that beautified manner. So I really tried to put something that can be acceptable now to the community. So I would say that now it's a plus. It's a benefit actually to be doing this type of unique art. During this journey, just being recognized as part of women who are speaking messages through art to people, it has been something that I would say that it's a very, very big accomplishment to me. Because it's not easy to be recognized in a world full of artists, especially now when you are trying to bring the art into photography. Because building art with a photograph is different from drawing. Drawing, you are able to draw everything into the picture, but now photography, you are trying to build things with sets, real life things. So for me, being able to be recognized as someone who has been speaking a word through art or producing pictures with voices, it has been something else for me. So I've had some of my photographs exhibited in the National Art Gallery when we were doing some women's work, different projects about gender equity, period, menstrual health. So all these different projects we have been able to exhibit. And also on online galleries, I've been able to submit some of my works and they were really accepted. So as someone that has been traveling, so far I've been to Australia, New Zealand, France, Canada, United States. I have seen that galleries are so much embraced. They really embrace art, they embrace their different artists. An artist is actually respected and given honor. And also, even when you look at the prices and how they really treat the artistic industry, it's really, really different from Africa. And I really wish that as Africans, we can also have that same mindset of really embracing art, knowing that, and also being able to interpret messages on a picture. Because I think that's where we lack. We don't usually put much effort when we see a photograph, when we see art. We don't really put much effort on it. But in other countries and continents, these people are really focused on art. They love art. They value art, actually. So for me, just looking at my vision, my big wish is to really show our Zimbabwean creativity outside Zimbabwe. I really want my work to speak outside Zimbabwe, just to make it international and for people to really see that, oh, there is really this culture, there is really the Tonga people, there is the Ndebele people, there is this type of people, and there is this type of beautiful lifestyle. And also, I would like to be a voice to people where people can just see a picture and it preaches a message to them. So my dream is to have artworks being displayed in different places. Because now in Zimbabwe, for what I have seen, we have limited spaces where art is displayed. A lot of places is just in the gallery maybe, but we don't really have somewhere where they can just put an artistic billboard where people can really see art and introduce Zimbabwe in some different way. So to the young ladies out there, you know what? These industries, they say that they are male-dominated, but also as a lady, you can also dominate in them. Because looking at women, naturally, we are just creative people. Looking at even our outfits from way back or whatever that we were creating from way back, we are very crafty and we have been very crafty and creative. So imagine putting that into photography. We can dominate this industry. So I would say that, you know, like for me, if I was to really tell my story from the beginning, my parents were even a bit hesitant when I spoke about photography. But like, she was like, you want to be like that guy who is always moving with his bicycle, you know, doing some photographs out there. But no, I had to really fight through my dream and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. No matter how it is outside there, because you will meet a lot of men in that industry, and men have an ego, and it will be hard for them to accept you just to join them and to prove that you can do it as well. But you should just press on. At the end of the day, people will respect your work more than your gender.
That was the story of the female photographer, and in the next segment we feature yet another person that is pushing boundaries and continues pushing boundaries in the creative space.
Africa searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food.
Thank you for staying with us on iAfrica, and in this segment we speak to Asha Nyambi, who has carved his name in photography, in fashion, in writing, and we get to hear what motivates the brand Asha Nyambi.
Hello Zimbabwe, Africa and the world. My name is Asha Takuzwa Nyambi and I'm a multidisciplinary creative operating in the communication space. I'm a photographer, I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, and sometimes I dabble into fashion a bit. And I've been in the space for, I think, more than 5 years now, just operating independently and as part of various organizations. I think sometimes it's entertaining. It gives life a bit more character. You know, one day you're doing one thing and the other day you're doing another thing. It adds a bit of range. It makes you understand a lot of things. And I think as a continuous learner, I pride myself in taking up information, learning new things. So I'm really excited on what my journeys may take me. One day you're putting together an article, the other day you're planning for a film, and the other day you're trying to put together a collection of fashion pieces. So I think that is very exciting, where you get different experiences all in one. I think working with creatives is very important because you're inspired every day. Every day you always get these fresh ideas, and I feel like Zimbabwe has a lot of talent that Africa needs to take notice of. Working with creatives is a very big joy in terms of like collaborating with them, sharing ideas, and seeing how far you can take a creative idea. And I think it's a blessing every day because you get to do this creative work and to interact with various people, hear their experiences, hear their stories, their visions, their goals, their ambitions. And that is very important because the creative people are actually the future of innovation, of development in various spheres. So I think collaborating with creatives on a daily is something that I take pride in and something that I really enjoy. And it's something that builds also my character because I am an accumulation of people that have served me or added to my story, collaborated with my story. So I'm very grateful. So I think as a writer, I've profiled creatives from all over, I think more than 12 countries, from Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Kenya. And I think that right now is the time for African creatives to shine. African creative, you have to know that the world is watching, and this is your time to express yourself, to put out that work, take pride in your work. Don't wait for the perfect moment because the perfect moment will never come. We look at people like Shasha winning the BET, Tyler at the Grammys, and Tim's and all these artists, Burna Boy doing amazing things. It's really now the opportunity for us to take control of the narrative, take control of the future. And I think that as someone who's operating within the communication space as a creative, I also have that responsibility to tell those stories, whether it be through film, through writing, through photography, and amplify the voices of Africa to a global audience. And I think that Africa, the time is not tomorrow, Africa is not the future, Africa is the now. I think with the fashion, it's very interesting because we're living in the social media era. We're constantly inspired by what we see on Instagram, what we see on Pinterest, on TikTok. And we're trying to reimagine all those concepts that we see outside for a Zimbabwean audience and a broader African audience. And it has been challenging, like some of the aspects such as sourcing materials and like just marketing the brand, growing the community around the brand. But it's a challenge that I take up every day because I think that putting your ideas on fabric and releasing the work, there are always going to be people that resonate with their idea. Like one thing that I learned on social media is that there's an audience for every type of content. You know, there's some people that have like very outrageous forms of content, but then they still have an audience, they're still monetizing. So I think the biggest goal now around the fashion is to create clothes that people take pride in. Sort of like when you walk around with the football jersey, you can see that like that's the team that I support, and there's that familiarity. So I think with Samora Centro as the brand, that's what we're trying to push for, to create fabrics that have a community around, where you see the shirt, you're like, oh, that's from Harare, like I'm from Harare, I'm from Zimbabwe, I can also tie into that vision. So I think that's the greater goal and the vision of the fabric, the project, the fashion. But it's a challenge, but every day also gives a different window of excitement, so I'm really happy about that, yeah. 10 years from now, I think that I would really want a situation where we are no longer talking about Zimbabwe as upcoming or Zimbabwe as emerging, but we're now talking about Zimbabwe as contemporary, like Zimbabwe is the now, where Africa is looking into Zimbabwe for ideas, looking into Zimbabwe for direction on where to go. So I think my goal is to be part of that story and to continue to tell African stories for an international audience and hopefully grow with the community around them. Because it's not just about me and my stories, but it's about the lives and the impact that we impact on a daily. I think my role model is definitely my mother. My mother actually is one of my greatest inspirations in getting into the arts. She is a primary school teacher at Lusitania, and as a kid, she always used to encourage me to read all these books. I look up to people like Trevor Noah. I look up to people like Trevor Stearman, another Trevor. I look up to people like Trevor Ngube, another Trevor also. So a lot of Trevors in my life. I mean, there are so many people within the communication space that I look up to. I might not mention all of them by name. Gilmo Kumalo, Alex Gwaze, Bernard Dayo, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a powerful woman. And yeah, I think I'm constantly inspired by everyone around me. And they also add to my story in various different ways. Whether it just be a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation, or like someone who I've known for years. So I'm really grateful for the people around me. Words of inspiration, I think it is make your life a dream. You have the power to change the narrative, and everything that you do, it matters in a way. So don't ever look at your goal as something that's small. Always think of it as something that has potential to create impact on the lives of people around you. So my parting words probably would be to continue dreaming and to execute. Start with what you can and make sure that you enjoy every single moment of it.
That was the story of Asha Nyambi, and in the third and final segment on today's show, we speak to a clothing brand that defies the odds and gives people a feeling through fashion.
Africa searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food.
In this third and final segment of today's episode, we get to chat to Nkosi Nati, who decided to give fashion a feeling. Let's get to hear his story.
I am Nkosi Nati Phiri. I'm a lifestyle enterpriser. I'm into fashion. I'm into corporate wear. So we started a clothing brand in 2019. So with this brand, we saw a need in the market to have the youth become strong people. People who are willing to take an initiative. People who are willing to do something with their lives. So then with our brand, what we wanted to do is to bring those youth and then have a culture that is represented by a very strong brand, that every time you wear that brand, you are reminded of the power you have as a human. So then we started Clothes Brand in 2019, and we're trying to fill in that gap in the market. So it's been doing very well so far, and I am very pleased with where we've come.
You speak of fashion as a feeling.
Yes,
What
yes.
is fashion to you, and how would you define it?
Okay, to me, fashion is an expression. It's how you want to be viewed, who you are. I believe in a certain aspect of fake it till you make it. I believe in a world where if you want to do something, if you want to be someone, the energy around you, you can contribute towards it. You can be who you want to be through the energy you attract. So with that, fashion comes into play. And with a strong brand that represents dominance, power, achievers, people who are willing to do more, I feel having to wear something like that every day or as a reminder to you of who you are is fashion. Fashion is expression, more than in art. That's fashion too. So it's been an interesting journey, to be honest, since we started the brand. And I don't want to lie, it's been really amazing. And it's something we didn't even have in the plan. So then when we started, we actually approached Takura, and we wanted him to be part of the brand and to make sure he fills in the gap we thought we needed. Because then we want people who represent what we represent. People who are doing well, people who are expressionate of who they are, the power they have, and people who have an influence to create a culture of people who believe in what they do. So it's been a roller coaster effect as well from when we initiated our first brand ambassador. And from there, it's been easy to have more people come on board. Because once you have a vision and you believe in it, trust me, that vision is going to be very, very, very powerful. Because the most dangerous man in the world is a man with a vision. All right, I think this business has been a very important milestone and life lesson in my life. It teaches you things on the ground. And there's one thing I noticed. We are taught how to succeed, but never how to fail. So I've gone through multiple seasons of failure, multiple seasons of success, and having to find a balance and having to strike who you are through those life lessons, it's very intense. So for us, we're always continually improving ourselves through the failures we have, through the successes we have. Because then once you know how to fail, you're able to succeed. And once people and the youth know that they can fail multiple times, but then as long as they know where they're going and the vision they have, it's going to be very, very, very important. All right, so actually I'm about to leak this information, but I'm not supposed to. This year we are trying to aim for the Southern region. What we're doing, we focus on the Zimbabwean market from inception in 2019, and now we're trying to have a culture of people that are spread around the globe. So then our penetration strategy now is to first target the Southern Hemisphere. So we're actually launching a store in South Africa towards the end of this year. And then from there, we want to integrate and approach other markets as well. We want to aim mostly for the 4 big countries in Africa, but firstly South Africa and then also Nigeria in the long run. So that's the plan we have right now, and I won't say much because I would like the market to see for themselves what's going to happen. Okay, so this is a word I'll give to the youth. if you have a business and when you're not there, there's nothing happening in the business, then that's not a business. What I have learned is you have to be able to set up a structure. Where the money is in having a structure. If you're able to design something that flows by itself, a structure that flows by itself. By structure, what I mean is not just an organizational structure, but a structure where things interlink, where your production, your marketing, your finance, they're interlinked, and where just by a click of a button or by the sending of a message, stuff is done. So for me, I have had to learn the hard way on how to have it as a structure, because it's been very hard to have independency in all those aspects. But then with time, we're able to now have that incorporated into one. So it hasn't really affected my corporate career, but however, there are some challenges that really come from that, because then it's very hard to scale up, especially when you're starting. But then with time, it gets easier. So at times you have to actually be a very good person at balancing. You have to know when it's time for work, when it's time for business, and it's always time for you to have leisure time. All right, yes, actually. We've actually collaborated with some brands locally, but then I look up to mostly brands from an international scope. For example, Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein has been doing very well. It's been there for quite some time, but then I like how simple they are, but sophisticated, how loud they are, but minimalistic. That type of culture is something that we're also trying to do, although we have different visions, but we have the same concept, how we want the business brand to be like. So I think Calvin Klein and Moncler as well. Moncler does very well. I think those are the brands I look up to. So this is what I like about myself, or having a corporate career and having a business life, is I'm able to pursue different visions at the same time. For example, right now, with my corporate career, I'm able to have an impact to the market. And as well with the business, I'm also able to have an impact in the market, but in different lights. So my vision is now collaborated between these two aspects as they come into one. And what I want is for Africa to be a world-class continent, for Africa to have success through world-class brands. And this is why we are undertaking in these businesses, because then what we want to do is not just have one brand, but we also want to explore other sections with different brands that compete worldwide. We're trying to take over Africa and take over the world to make Africa the best.
So this was today's exciting episode of iAfrica. As you can tell, there's nothing that's stopping you from pursuing your passions. I hope you were inspired and motivated to walk through your African story. And hopefully you will join us again on the next episode of iAfrica as we continue telling more African stories. I am your host, Nicole Jamu.
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. iAfrica presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. From well-known brands through to ambitious startups, every week iAfrica seeks out the continent's best design and lifestyle innovations. Join me, your host Nicole Jamu, as we take a round trip across Africa and get you inspired, motivated, and future-oriented.